Hello students, moving to our third step of the nursing process, that is planning. So planning, it is a deliberative systematic phase which is involving the decision making and problem solving, where the nurse and the client both are developing some goals or some desired outcomes and the nursing interventions too, so that we can able to reduce or prevent the health problems. Okay, so what is planning? Planning, it is a deliberative systematic phase which involves decision making and problem solving. And in that phase, what the nurse and client is doing, they are developing some goals or some desired outcomes in order to reduce the health problems in a client. So there are three types of planning, that is initial planning, ongoing planning, and discharge planning. So initial planning, at the time of admission assessment, the nurse develops the initial plan. Okay. So in that she will be keeping all the things which is based on the initial assessment. And see, why we are planning or why we are making that initial planning, in order to, we want to reduce the hospital stay. So for that type, during the initial assessment, at the time of admission, what plan is making, that is known as initial planning. Second one, it is ongoing planning, that is day by day, as the nurses is getting new informations from the client, or day by day if some problems will be reducing. So that time she can able to change the plan what she has prepared it. So that type of planning is known as ongoing planning. And the last one is discharge planning. So in that planning she will be making the plans or making the needs which is required after the discharge of the patient from the hospital. Okay, so these are the three types of planning. Initial planning, which is done during the assessment phase or during the admission time. Ongoing planning, like, is day by day when she is working with the client, when the changes are required, at that time when the plan is changed or when the changes have been made, it is known as ongoing planning. Third one is discharge planning, that is at the time of discharge of the patient from the hospital, the planning of needs, we will call it as discharge planning. So moving on to the planning process, it is involving 4 steps. So what are the 4 steps? Number 1, it is setting the priorities. Second one, establishing the client goals or the desired outcome. Third one, selecting the nursing interventions. Fourth one, it is writing the individualized nursing care plans. Okay. So these are the 4 steps involved in the planning process. Setting priorities, establishing client goals or desired outcomes, selecting nursing interventions, and writing the individualized care plans. So what is the setting priorities? See, whenever the client will tell you his problems, so many problems he will be telling you, and he will not have any flow or he will not be sequencing it. Okay. So as soon as what you have to do, when you have collected the data, when you have made the diagnosis, you have to prioritize it. You have to sequence it like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So this 1, 2, 3, and 4, how we are grouping them, you will be grouping them as high priority, medium priority, low priority. So when you are prioritizing or when you are setting the nursing diagnosis, or when you are addressing the nursing diagnosis according to the priority, like high priority, medium priority, and low priority, that is known as setting the priorities. Okay, so if you're seeing all the life threatening problems, it will come under the high priority. Health threatening problems will come under the medium priority, and low priority, which is requiring only less minimal nursing support, that is low priority problems. So life threatening problems in such as loss of respiratory function, loss of cardiac function, this all will come as the life threatening problems. And health threatening problems, which includes the acute illness, okay, so such as rise in temperature, rise in BP, which is not at all, which is a health threatening problem. So that cases you will come under, it will come under the medium priority. And low priority cases are there, only minimal nursing support is required. Next is establishing the client goals or desired outcomes. That is the second step in the planning process. That is establishing client goals or desired outcomes. So client goals, if you're seeing, see, as soon as after the establishing the priorities, the nurse and the client will go for the goal setting. Okay. So the goal setting, see, by this time the client has to achieve this goal. Understood? And that goals can be written as a broader statement, and we can also be written it as a desired outcome also. Okay. And when the goals are stated broadly in the care plan, both the goals and the desired outcomes, it should be there. If you're seeing this example, see, improved nutritional status. Okay. The nurse can able to write improved nutritional status. So what is that improved nutritional status? It means the client is gaining 2 kg weight by April 25th or May 25th. Understood? So that is desired outcome. That example, if you're seeing here, improved nutritional status as evidenced by weight gain of 2 kg by April 25th. So whenever the nurse is writing, let's see, this is our diagnostic label, and here we are writing what is our exact plan. We have to make the patient to gain the weight of 2 kg by April 25th by improving his nutritional status. Okay. Then, what are the purposes of desired goals or outcomes? See, whenever there is a goal or whenever there is a desired outcome, it is giving you the direction. It is serving as a criteria for evaluating. It will be enabling the nurse and the client to determine whether the problem has solved or not. And also it will help to motivate the client and the nurse. Okay. So these are the purposes of the desired outcomes. Goals, it can be divided into two, that is long term goal and short term goal. Long term goal, it will take some time to resolve the problem or to achieve the goal. Short term means within a short time period the client can able to attain it. So if you're seeing an example here, a short term goal might be client will raise right hand to the shoulder height by Friday. In the same context, the long-term goal can also be made. That is, the long-term goal will be the client will be regain full use of right arm in 6 weeks. If you're seeing till the shoulder height, if the client is raising his hand by Friday, that is a short-term goal. And that right hand, that complete use of right hand may be resumed in 6 weeks time. That is long-term goal. So long-term and short-term goal means long-term, which requires some time to achieve the goal. Short-term means it requires only a specific time. If you're seeing the components of the goals or desired outcome, there are 4 components: subject, verb, conditions or modifiers, and the criterion of desired performance. Subject, it is nothing but the client. So the client attributes, anything which is related to the client himself, any part of the client or any attributes of the client, we can call it as a subject. Verb is the specified action which the client has to perform, that is verb. Conditions or modifiers, it means that what exactly the client want to do, like how the client will be walking with the help of a stick. So here it is explaining how may be added to the verb to explain the circumstances so that we can able to understand it very well. That is known as conditions or modifiers. And the last one is criterion of desired performance. It means that at what level we are expecting the client to perform a specific activity. That is desired performance. Understood? So the 4 components are subject, the client himself or any attributes or any part of the client. Verb means the specific action which the client has to perform. Conditions or modifiers, it means that how or what or where the client has to perform the activities. That is how the verb has to be performed, how the action has to be performed. And the last one is the desired performance. It means that to what level we are expecting the client to perform the activity. So if you're seeing the example here, see 4 columns I have made: subject, verb, conditions or modifier, desired criteria. So if you're seeing client will be drinking 2500 amount milliliter of fluid daily. The client who was not taking, or when the client, see, suppose a client is there with you, he is not taking anything orally. Okay. So that time you are making your planning that you will be making the client to drink water. How much amount of water? 2500 ml of water, and daily Okay, so you will be making the client to drink the water daily. So that is our desired performance. Okay, so drinking is the verb, client is the subject, drinking is the verb. How much water? 2500 ml of water, and daily is our desired performance. Okay, so these are the 4 components of the goals. What are the guidelines in writing the goals? Always the goal or the outcomes that should be in terms of the client responses. It should not be in the nursing activities. That is, the client will walk, the client will be able to eat, the client's temperature will be reduced. So it is always related to the outcome of the client response. Avoid the statements which is starting with facilitate, allow, permit, follow. No, you cannot use all those words. Always the client will drink 100 ml of water per hour. Like that, we should write the statements. Be sure that the desired outcomes are realistic. According to the capability of the client, we should make the desired outcomes realistic. Then only we can able to achieve it. And only one nursing diagnosis will be having only one goal, and that goal, it should be, or the outcomes, it should be observable, measurable, and that should be there. Clear? Next one. The third step is selecting the nursing interventions and activities. So whenever you are selecting the nursing interventions or activities, focus so that we can able to reduce the etiology of the nursing diagnosis. Then we can able to change the etiological factors. We should always choose the nursing intervention so that we can treat the signs and the symptoms. Also, our intervention should reduce the client risk factors, and the nursing activities or the nursing interventions, that should be written exactly. Okay, so selecting nursing intervention means nursing interventions or the activities, it is selected, or we are making those activities or planning those activities in order to achieve the goals, and that goals, it is determining or focusing in eliminating or reducing the etiology of the nursing diagnosis, or we have to reduce the signs and symptoms. So types of nursing interventions, if you are seeing, independent interventions, dependent interventions, and collaborative interventions are there. What is this independent interventions? So those activities the nurse are licensed to initiate on the basis of their skill or knowledge. Okay, so whenever the nurse is performing any nursing interventions only based on her skill and knowledge, she does not require the help from the other persons or the physicians or from the supervisions. No, it is not required. That is known as independent interventions. Dependent interventions means these interventions, these are carried out by the physician's order. Okay, so example, if you're saying say planning and providing special mouth care for a client. Okay, the client is having some impaired oral mucous membrane, so the nurse has to provide the mouth care. So providing the mouth care, so whenever the nurse is planning to provide the mouth care, that is an independent activity which does not require any particular order from the physicians, or that is it has been done, it can be able to done by the nurse herself, because mouth care, it is an activity or it is a care where the nurse is licensed to practice. Okay, next comes the dependent interventions. So here we require the order of a physician. For example, administering the antipyretic drugs, administering antiemetics, administering any antihypertensive drugs. So this all requires the order from a physician. And when the nurse is carrying out that, we will call it as dependent intervention. Last one is collaborative interventions. So both, that is independent and dependent nursing activities, whenever the nurse is doing the both collaboratively, that is known as collaborative interventions. So the 3 types of interventions are independent interventions, dependent interventions, and collaborative interventions. Last is writing individualized nursing care plan. Then after collecting the, after doing the assessment, after formulating the nursing assessment, nursing diagnosis, then after the planning the things, we have to write the nursing care plan. And the nursing care plan, it has to be written, reviewed regularly, and if any changes has to be done, that has to be done. Then the nursing care plan, it is a formal and it could be an informal one also. Formalized means it will be a written, a computerized one, and in that we will be writing the individualized nursing care plan. If you're seeing the format of nursing care plan, we will be writing, sometimes it will be a 4-column, sometimes it is 5-column, even a 7-part is also there. So nursing diagnosis, goals, intervention, evaluation. This is 4-part. Then 5-part we can include like assessment, nursing diagnosis, goal, nursing interventions, and evaluations. Then we can write nursing assessment, nursing diagnosis, goal, rational, planning, implementation, evaluation. So this is a 7-part one. Okay. So understood the difference. So like that we can able to format the nursing care plan. Either we can write it or we can make a computerized care plan. But always see that whenever you're planning or whenever you're writing a nursing care plan, that should be an individualized nursing care plan. So moving on to the guidelines. So what are the guidelines? See, date and sign. Date should be there. Signature of you should be there in your nursing care plan. Category headings, you can able to make it. Medical or English simple keywords, thus rather than complete sentences to communicate your ideas. Okay, always see that you are using a standardized medical or English simple. Next one, any procedure book you can able to refer, or you can collect the information and then you can include all that in your nursing care plan. Then, according to the unique characteristics of the client, you have to make the choices or you have to make the preference whenever you're making the care plan. Next one, nursing care plan incorporates preventive and health maintenance aspect. Ensure that the plan contains nursing interventions for ongoing assessment of the client. You can able to include collaborative and coordinative activities in the nursing care plan. And even in the nursing care plan, you have to include the plans for client discharge and home care needs. Okay, so this is the guidelines by writing the nursing care plan. So when writing the nursing care plan, there is a date, there should be a date and your signature should be there. You can use category headings, only use standardized abbreviations. Then if in you can able to refer the procedure books or other sources of information. You don't want to write all the steps in the nursing care plan. Next one, we can able to incorporate preventive and health maintenance activities in the nursing care plan. Next one, always the nursing care plan, it should be based on the ongoing assessment of the client. You can either make a you can make independent, dependent or collaborative nursing care plan. Also, you should include the discharge plan also in the nursing care plan. Okay. So, in our today's class, we have seen regarding planning. What is planning? What are the types of planning? What are the steps in planning? What are the goals? What do you mean by goals? What are the components of the goals? Okay. And lastly, we have seen regarding the guidelines. I hope you have understood the class, the revision class of planning. Thank you.